Okay, be honest. You cried at the end of this movie. Hi, what's up, everybody? So today I'm revisiting Toy Story 3. And this is basically the end of the what I call the Andy trilogy. And I'll explain why. Towards the end, spoilers if for whatever reason you've been living under a rock and you've never seen any of the Toy Story movies, especially this one. Now, of course, again, we're following the toys, as this time Andy is preparing to go to college. He's all grown up now. Now, of course, a lot of time has gone by since the second one. The second one came out in '99, and the third one came out in 2010. So, not treating Andy as like a character who just very slowly ages, I thought was a nice choice. And so, yeah, he's on his way to college, and now he's thinking about what he should do with his toys. And should he bring some? Should he bring one? In the end, he chooses to take Woody, and he puts him in his this one box that he will pack up and go to college with. And then all the other toys are put in a different box, which at first was meant to go in the attic. And then by a series of misunderstandings, they end up going into a daycare. But before that happens, Woody sneaks out of the box that Andy is going to take to college and goes into the box with the other toys, kind of as a last goodbye type of situation. And so all of them get taken to a daycare center. And it's full of, like some, anxiety, obviously, because they don't know what the environment is going to be like. And then they're given such a lovely welcome by Ken. So Ken from Ken and Barbie, and this stuffed bear who basically is kind of the maestro that runs everything in the daycare named Lotso. Now, and then the toys are kind of all happy because what's explained to them is that, we're a daycare center and kids are here every day and kids play with you. So you're not going to be just left in an attic or left by yourselves. You're actually going to have some kids with you, and kind of what the whole premise, especially from the first one, is the toy's purpose is to make a kid happy. And so that's what they're going to continue doing at this daycare. And little by little, of course, nothing is ever as good as as it is explained to be. And it turns out that whatever part of the daycare that Andy's toys end up in, it's full of kids that just mistreat the toys and beat them up and put them in really weird situations. And so now it's more of a case where it goes to like a prison break type of thing. And then at some point, there's almost like this horror suspense aspect. One of the things that Toy Story 3 does amazingly is really blend different genres and whatever genre convention that is. So a prison break, so they think they're free and all of a sudden they're not. And of course, they think they're going to be, of course, I said spoilers, right? They think they're going to be incinerated. And that is like one of the more touching moments, in Toy Story 3, where they end up in kind of this garbage dump where all the garbage is incinerated, and they think that's what's going to happen to them. And so they all just lock hands and accept their fate. There's no screaming, there's no existential crisis, there's no I want to live. They just kind of accept their fate. And that was hard. That was really, really hard to watch. Again, I had never seen Toy Story 3 when it came out. I went back and watched it a couple times with my son. And it's just amazing how you grow with the characters and you continue this journey with them. And if there's one thing I have to say about Disney Pixar, the storytelling is always picture perfect. And they have a formula for it. You can find this formula online, where things happen and they have to make sure they hit these story beats and they're all exactly the same based on the context of the story and the movie and the setting. You see how everything unfolds. And so I just really thoroughly enjoyed it. And I think probably the best part, there are two parts that I really, really love. One is funny and one is more poignant. I love how Buzz Lightyear has this setting where he can speak Spanish, and all of a sudden, like that gets activated randomly. So that was a great moment of comic relief. But I think the culmination, the best moment of this movie is the end. In the end, Andy takes his box of toys and gives them to this girl that we meet at the beginning of the movie when the toys arrive at the daycare, the character of Bonnie. And so he gives her the toys, explains to her, who they are, what their names are, and finally has one last moment to play with his toys before he heads off to college. And really, it's not a movie about toys. It's not a movie about, like, especially in the second one, it was very much about toys that are left behind or never chosen and the sadness and resentment that they may feel. This movie really, really felt like it's about the difficulty of closing the book on one aspect of your life and opening another book. Change. So Andy is going from this kid that had so much fun with Woody and company, and now he's grown up and he has to let go of that part of his life and move on to the next. And it was just handled so beautifully. And the reason why I call it the Andy trilogy is because, in the fourth one, we follow Bonnie, and in the fifth one as well. And so it looks like her character is going to have her own set of movies, because Toy Story 5 was amazing. And come on. Of course, they're going to make a sixth one at some point, right? But yeah, definitely worth a watch over and over again. And you're going to go through the entire roller coaster of emotions, and you're going to enjoy it every step of the way. Anyways, those are my thoughts. What about you guys? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Smash that like button, click subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.